was guys. So let's solve this 494 target sum. I think this problem is interesting. So yeah, so basically you get nums and the target, and then you can build the expression out of nums by adding one symbol plus or minus before each integers, and then concatenate all strings, all integers. For example, let's say 2 to 1, right? It's 2 and 1, then you can create plus plus or plus and minus, right? So by adding, right? So my minus 1 is, I think, still is also okay, right? So you can create like 3, 1, minus 2, okay? And you have a target. And then you need to return the number of different expressions that you can build. Okay. So obviously that right, if you have let's say the length, let's say you have a numbers, then you get 2 to the n, right? You get 2 to the n expressions, and then you can if you solve brute force, if you use brute force to solve it, there's no way, right? So for these numbers, you get 5 of them, which you get 3, and for this one, right? So this problem has a strong DB flavor. Okay, the idea is that right, this is almost like the standard strategy, right? You have arrays, right? So you can get your array by, I think, defined to be I plus 1, right? So this is the, let's say you take the first part, and also you can define a total, right? So basically this is what you can get, right? You can define dynamic programming matrices. Let's say you define I and the total, okay, to be what? To be the number of the possible way. So number of the possible way from using this one, using the first I plus 1 to get a total. Okay, so yeah, so number of possible ways from nums I plus 1 and get a total. Okay, so okay, so there's a still one subtlety is that since if you choose -1, right, you will get -1. You will get some negative numbers, right? So for this total, then we should normalize. We should add some number which make this guy to be positive, right? So we can just define I can define this total to be the sum of all the nums, right? So everything can become positive, and for these indices, I always add this total, right? So let's maybe change the notation to define this to be j. So I can define j plus total. So j plus total, and this is possible way from nums, I have to get a j. Okay, so you use the first I numbers and get a j, and these indices choose to be j plus total just for this guy to be positive, right? Because this guy can be negative. Okay, the idea is very easy, right? So you get total nums, sums, and the dp from 2 times total plus 1. The reason is that you can get you can get positive total and then to negative totals, right? So the maximum is 2 total plus 1, and for I range then sums. Okay. And what is the boundary condition, right? So the boundary condition is that when I is 0, and so when I is 0, you only get the first number, right? So you can get nums of 0, which is 1, right? Very stupid. But you can also do nums negative nums 0. So remember, this is not 1, right? Because nums of 0 may not be maybe 0, right? So maybe you can add up like so you add 1, right? So this is the boundary, right? So we get the boundary condition here. And then there's a sanity check, very trivial, that if your target greater than total, that means you don't have any ways to do this, right? Because total is the largest that you can get, or your target is so small that you cannot get, right? So this is 0. Okay, now you can just do the very simple transition equation, right? So let's talking about transition, right? So what is the transition, right? So transition is very simple, right? Transition is like when your dpi minus 1 total greater than 0. Maybe I should say, maybe let me just say this. Say plus total greater than 0. That means you have a way. You have a way to do this, right? to use a previous I minus 1 number and phone plus j total, then you can just add I, and then that means that your j plus total plus the nums of I plus equals to least guy, I should say, equals to least guy, right? And I should say plus or equal plus or equal to least guy, and the dpi, right, j plus total minus nums I, right? That means that you can construct it, right, plus or equal to something, the same thing, right? So it's like this plus nums I is the same as this, plus total minus nums I, it just this. Okay, so this is just the transition equation, and you return the final, right? So your return results will be, you just ask what is the dp length n minus 1, right? Because get told you this is indices and the target plus total. Remember the total just some reset. Okay, so just call. Okay, so I think this is the step by step and a very simple equation, very simple problem. Okay, and just standard DP. Okay, see you guys next video.